Building great automations is all about knowing what you want to achieve and figuring out what are the tools that are going to get you there. If you watched the previous video, you now have an AI agent that can extract data from a transcript and put it into a Google Sheet. By the end of this video, you'll have the advanced n8n tools to achieve any customer request. Think of this as opening your toolbox. Right now, what you have in your toolbox is a webhook node, is an AI agent, and a set node. And today we're going to get familiar with all the advanced tools so you can choose the right one for the job. You learn the 5 essential nodes that every AI builder needs, see exactly when and why to use each one, and build a sophisticated workflow that transforms our basic transcript analysis into a professional system that handles multiple scenarios intelligently. I'm Alejo, co-founder of Amplify Voice, and everything I'm sharing comes from real client implementations where basic workflows just weren't enough. These are the exact advanced nodes and techniques that we use to build enterprise-grade voice AI systems that actually work in production. So if you'd like my help with your project, you can book a private consultation below or submit a project for me and my team to work on for you. Now let's build a great automation. Last time we built a basic transcript analysis workflow where an AI agent fills out a Google Sheet with the details of the call, the transcript, the summary of the call, and the details of the appointment. But real businesses don't keep all their data on Google Sheets, and most of them don't have only one type of outcome for their calls. For example, if an appointment wasn't set, they'll still want to follow up with that person. So I'm going to teach you a system that can route different call types based on what actually happened during the call. And that's where advanced nodes really come useful in your toolbox. To build great automations, we first have to know what we want to achieve. So the objective is going to be handling these end of call reports such that later we can see the details of this prospect in our Notion, which works as our CRM. We have built this for clients in HubSpot and in Go High Level, but we manage all our clients and all our data in Notion. And to show you that this is not just for the tutorial, I'm blurring out all the important names and private data, but this is our CRM. This is where we manage absolutely everything for our business, as do so many other businesses. For this tutorial, we're going to use a subset of that data to show you how we add new leads into the CRM and update the leads that we already have based on what happened in the call. So we'll have some fields up to the right for the transcript, for the summary, the appointment details, and the recording URL. That is what we deem as useful. You can have a lot more data and clients ask for a lot more data and details. And with what I'm going to show you today, you can do pretty much anything. So let's go back to our n8n. We now understand the objective, and I'm going to show you all the steps and nodes in order to achieve that. We're going to leverage the same use case where we called a real estate agency to book a showing. We have the transcript right here. Thank you for calling Maple Lane Realty. The conversation goes on. I book a showing at a property, give my name, last name, and then we agree on a time. So very straightforward, but it has its complexities like capturing the address, capturing time of the appointment, the agreement, all that stuff. That's what the AI agent is going to take care of, and that's what we took care of last time. How do we do something useful out of all of this? And how do we integrate the CRM portion? That's what we're about to get into. So we receive that call analysis through this webhook. Depending on the voice provider that you're using, I'm using retail. There's this nuance with retail where it sends 3 webhooks to the same location right here. And only one of those is the call analyzed. It's the actual one we care about. So we have to filter with the first node I'm going to teach you, which is the if node. The if node can return true or false, and it simply has a condition. In this case, I'm saying the body event, which I can find here, body event, is equal to call analyzed. So in this case, that comparison is true, and it will be false for when the call started and when the call ended. Only the third one, call analyzed, is the one we care about. So the other ones will go through the false route, which we don't want to do anything with, so it just ends there. Only call analyzed goes through, and this is a familiar node to you, which is the set node or edit fields. The next thing we want to do is identify the phone number of the user. And what we see that we receive from the webhook, I'm going to go to schema so it's a little nicer to look at. What we see from the webhook, if we scroll to the bottom, there's a from number, there's a to number, and there's a direction. So if the direction is inbound, the from number is my voice agent, and it's calling a to number. But if the direction is inbound, if I am calling the voice agent, then those get flipped. The from number is the user's phone number, and the to number is the voice agent. So we can't just grab one and call that the user number. It depends on the direction of the call. So how do we do that if this then that? Well, we can use one of these nodes, or we can use this set variable node, because at the end of the day, what we want to do is set a variable, user phone number, and there are these very handy functions in n8n, like the if function. So let me walk you through what this means. First, we have to make sure that this field is set up as expression. We're going to start with a double curly bracket. It's going to be red because there's nothing in it. And now that I click into it and I hit spacebar, a bunch of options are going to show up. Which of these tools do I use? Well, what am I trying to achieve? I'm trying to get to defining the user's phone number. First, we have what we call an if statement. It's going to be a $if, which is essentially a function in n8n. If you click into it, you can see what the description is, how you use it. And it even gives you an example. And then what we're going to do is open a parentheses. I added a new line. You don't need to add a new line. What is the condition that we're trying to figure out? Well, what is the direction of the call? So we're saying if the direction is outbound, then the user's phone number is going to be the to number. But if the direction of the call is not outbound, then the user's phone number is going to be the from number. And that's how you read this. If you have a blank page, how do you figure this out? Well, you can hit spacebar and a bunch of functions are going to show up. So get familiar with these because they're going to come in handy. So now we have the user's phone number. Now we can move on. With that phone number, we want to check if the user already exists in our database. So that's going to be our advanced node number 2, databases. You might want to use HubSpot, go high level. We use Notion. You can also use Supabase. There's many out there. The whole point is, where do you keep your data? So wherever you keep your data about who your leads are, that's what we want to check. And when I double click in that database, when I scroll to the bottom, I'm doing a comparison. The phone equals this user's phone number. And it's more of a question. Can we find a contact that has this phone number that we just finished a call with? So if I run this, the answer is going to be yes, because it's my phone number and I am in the database. Bam, so I show up. But what happens if the call finishes and the user isn't in our database already? Let's say I make up a number, I'm going to add a number to this, and I execute. Well, it would come out empty and the workflow would end there. But it doesn't, because even though it's empty, if you go to settings, you'll see the always output data. If I turn this off, which is off by default, the workflow will end there. There's nothing else will happen. So we can modify that behavior that, hey, we want to continue the workflow even if we don't know this user yet. So now when I execute, the workflow will go on. And that's the second advanced node, which is databases. So I fix that phone number. So now my contact actually shows up, and we're going to move on to the next one. This if node, if we do have a contact, if that contact's phone does exist in our database, then we want this if node to be true. And then we're going to go into the AI agent, and the AI agent is going to do some cool stuff I'm going to show you in a second. But what happens if we don't know this user? Just like I showed you, I'm going to make this intentionally wrong. I'm going to execute this step, and there's not going to be any data that comes through, right? But the workflow still continues. Then we have the if statement. So if this property, this phone number, this user in our database does not exist, this is going to be false. And it's going to go down the bottom route. So we can create a new contact with a CRM. And for now, I only know the phone number. I don't know any other information. The other information is in the transcript, and we want to extract it. So in the CRM, we don't have a random phone number, but we actually have information about that phone number. For example, and I'm going to show you what the agent is going to output. The first name, the last name. What was the outcome of the call? Was there an appointment booked? And then some notes about the call or the outcome, such as the time and date that the appointment is going to happen. We went over how to set this up in the last video, so I'm going to move on. So what do we know now? That regardless of whether a contact just got created or it already existed, now this data is all going to flow into this AI agent. And that's something we can do with n8n that's really, really cool. You can have two different nodes come into one single node. And one of those branches is going to have data and the other one isn't. And the workflow just goes on naturally. It's really, really nice. And just like you can have two edges come into one single node, you can actually also have two edges come out of a single node. And I could have a Notion node right there. So if this branch is true, both of these actions will execute. Let's move on into the AI agent. So a new contact just got created in our CRM. I'm just going to show you. We have a new contact that's completely empty except the phone number. Remember how I added that one at the end? Okay, so this is our new phone number and everything else is empty. Now let's update this contact with the important information that we learned during the call, like the name, phone number, the appointment booked, and the details of the appointment. So let's move on to the AI agent that has a tool like I showed you last time. Last time it was Google Sheets, and now it's Notion. Just to recap, the components of the AI agent is going to be a prompt, like this one, which I'm going to walk you through in just a second, and then a user message, which I'm passing on the full transcript. Then the AI agent is going to have a chat model. In this case, we're using Claude Sonnet 4, the tools, some memory, which I'm not using in this case because I have the memory in the database in my CRM, and a structured output. We don't want the AI agent to just give us an answer. We want useful data. So we can extract the outcome of the call. Some notes, for example, the date and time of the appointment, the first name of the user, the last name of the user. And this structured output is just going to make sure that the AI agent outputs that information. So let's run this and I'll show you how everything gets updated on the CRM side. So we're going to have the first name and last name pop up here. And then if I scroll to the right, we have the transcript, we have the summary and the appointment details. But for a real customer, we would want the recording URL as well. And I'm going to show you how to get that and input that in here. Because this AI agent is great. But for real world customers, you really need to understand if there's a certain outcome in the call, we want to take different actions. Because your client does not need to know about every single time that you reached a voicemail. So how do we do that? Well, our AI agent was given a system prompt with a lot of that information. So let's read through it together. The role and objective is you're a transcript analysis agent in charge of extracting key information from a transcript of a conversation. That's the exact thing we had last time. But what's new is this output format. So we have outcome and notes, just like here. And we're teaching how to use them. So your outcome should contain one of the following outcomes, ordered by priority based on what happened during the call. If we hit a voicemail, we want to know about that. And it makes everything else irrelevant. If we had an appointment that was actually booked, we want to know about that and everything else is irrelevant. If the person was curious, we want to prioritize that even if they, eventually didn't book an appointment and weren't interested. So we have a customer defined order of priority and the agent, in this case, output appointment booked even though I was curious during the call. The important thing to focus on is that I booked an appointment. So that was the output of outcome. And then for notes is a few words to insert in the CRM of why that outcome was assigned. Or in the case of appointment booked, the date and time of the appointment. And now we're going to show it the Notion tool with tool usage. It's going to update a CRM database page in Notion. Fill in the following fields, if any are missing. And then update these fields if they already have something in them. So if there's already been a call in the past, like with appointment details, we don't want to replace what's in that field. We don't want to remove this. We just want to make sure that the most recent appointment goes to the top. So that is what we're defining here. And then some final notes around outputting voicemail for outcome if the transcript has no conversation or if the user didn't interact with the agent. This is just nice to have for some exceptions where the call doesn't go to voicemail, but there is no transcript. And that's our agent. If you want to know more about how to prompt Claude and how to make these effective prompts, I'll leave a video linked above so you can learn to make your agents consistent. Great, so now we have everything we need. The CRM already got updated automatically. And now comes the good part. The advanced node number 3 is the switch node. It looks very much like an if-else node, but instead of having true and false, it can have multiple routes. And based on the routes, we can perform different actions. For example, our client wants to know about when an appointment got booked and when there was a conversation when the person sounded curious. So in those outcomes, we'll make sure we send an email to our customer saying, hey, there's a lead that came in, and this was the outcome, either appointment booked or curious. And here's a bunch of information about the lead, like the name, the phone number, the outcome, and the details. But if during the call, the user was not interested or it went to voicemail, we don't want to send that email to our customer. It would just be bothering them. But we do want to get a Slack notification. So that's an internal notification for us. That'll look something like this. Hey, there's a lead that came in with a phone number. This was the outcome, and these are the details of the appointment. And this is where more than just which notes you're using, it's how you're using them. I want to make sure that regardless of whether there's an appointment booked or the user is not interested, I get a Slack notification. And this way, I can do that. Because if the appointment was booked, it'll go to Gmail first, and then also Slack. We have multiple edges coming into the same node. I can also do it a slightly different way, which is go from curious and put another edge and from appointment booked as well. So there's 2 edges coming out of appointment booked and 2 edges coming out of curious. So both of those actions will get executed. It goes up and it goes down. But since it's cleaner to do it this way, I'm gonna go like this. Again, it's not just about knowing the nodes, it's knowing how to use them. So you're probably curious what's in here that helps me define which way do I go. Well, the AI agent was able to output an outcome, and it will always follow this structure format. So I can leverage that structure format and say, hey, from the AI agent, get me the outcome. And if that is equal to appointment booked, then you will go on this top route. If the outcome is equal to curious, then you'll go in the second route. If the outcome is equal to not interested, and then voicemail. And in some cases, you'll want it to go through multiple routes, not just one single route. So if you go to add option, you can click on send data to all matching outputs. So keep that in mind, but most of the times we just want a singular output, which is prioritized based on what the customer cares about. The switch node is really powerful, especially when used in conjunction with the AI agent. That way the AI agent doesn't try to handle everything, like updating the database, understanding what happened during the call, sending an email, sending a Slack notification. In this case, it has 2 jobs, what happened during the call and update the CRM with that information. We leverage the switch node to add even more flexibility to that. We send an email when appropriate. We send a Slack notification always, and we are good to go. So let's keep going because I'm going to teach you a very exciting node, which for some people can be confusing, but I hope this makes it very tangible for you. We're going to talk about API calls, this HTTP node. I want to be very clear. This node is no different than the Gmail node or the Slack node. Both of these are communicating with a URL just like I have at the top of my page. But if I click into it, I just don't see where it's communicating. And I am limited in the amount of things I can do. I think the globe icon for this HTTP request, which you can look up like this, the HTTP request removes those limits. I can communicate with anywhere on the internet. And all I need is a URL and a piece of information of what I want to communicate. In this case, I want to get the full end of call report from the call that just happened so I can get a link to download the recording. Because what's the objective? For my client to be able to listen to the call that happened, not just assume that this all went okay. So in this recording URL, we're going to put that link for the user to be able to listen to it. But there's one small issue. If I get the recording URL from here, what's going to happen is it's going to download a file. And that's just uncomfortable, and I have to open Apple Music for some reason. So that's not how we're going to do it. We're going to make it easy for our customer to listen to the recordings by uploading it to Google Drive, making that shareable, and putting it in Notion right here. So we'll be able to simply click, it'll open up, and then they can just play it from right there. Remember, your clients will thank you for making their life easy. So let's do that. The HTTP request has 3 portions. Number 1, there's going to be a URL, but you've probably never seen a URL like this one. Whenever we have some words and then a variable, n8n gives us this facility where we can see the result, not just the name of the variable. In fact, we can expand this to make it even more readable, and we have the result right here. That is the call ID. And all we're saying is, hey, retail, can I get the call with this ID? So component number 1 is the URL. Component number 2, authentication. Retail's not going to give just any call recording to anybody that asks for it. You need some sort of authentication. And how you do that with many modern systems is you click on where it says none. We're going to go to generic credential type, and then the type is going to be bearer. I already have it set up, so if I execute this, it's going to work just fine. But how you set it up is you hit on create new credential, you go to your retail account, and then in keys, you can create a new API key. Bam. And that key, once it's created, you can copy it and then paste it right here. Save. And this is a generally secure way to manage authentication. This is the one I'm going to use for this account. And that's component number 2, which is authentication. Component number 3 is not headers, but body. You can send information through, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. Because for this, we're not actually going to need that. We have the get method in this case. And how do I know that I need a get instead of a post like we saw before? Well, I can actually go to this. This is a real URL. I can go to it. Oh, wait, this is API. What it actually needs to say is docs. So if I change the word API by docs, then it's going to send me to the documentation, API reference, and right here where it says get call, bam. I know it's a get method because that's what it says here. Other types of methods have a post, then it would be post. But in this case, I can just copy this and I'm going to make sure I have get selected, and then I can delete that, and that call ID, that is the variable that we're replacing. There we go. And I can execute this step, and I'm going to get the call recording, but we're not quite finished yet because now we want to download that recording by simply saying, hey, get URL. So we're just going to do the exact same thing that I did where it downloaded the recording, but n8n is actually going to be able to use that recording. And what is body? Usually in get methods, you're not going to need a body, but say we want to make a call through retail. That requires a post request. And along with a post request, we're sending some authorization. And that is where it gets interesting. This body is going to have a from number. Which of your retail numbers do you want to use? Who do you want to call? Which agent ID do you want to use? And as you get more familiar with this, you can actually play with this. You can click on try it and fill out this information, and it'll get filled out right here all at the same time. So I'll leave you with that hot tip if you're new to API calls and HTTP requests. And that's the third component, which is a body, which will come up on our next video. For now, if I click on download recording, all I need is the right method and the URL. And here, that's what this looks like. I can even download it straight from here. But we're not going to download it to our computer. We're actually going to upload it to Google Drive. That way, our client is actually going to be able to listen to it through their browser instead of having to download a file. So we're going to upload that file and then share that file. And that is all you need to know about HTTP requests for now. Then the final advanced node that I want to show you is the wait node. Sometimes these recordings are very large and heavy, and it takes a while to upload this file and to make available. So if you try to immediately use it, what is going to happen is you're going to get an error, and that's not very nice. So we add a wait node to tell n8n to wait for 5 seconds before taking the next action. What that looks like is if I hit on the play button for Notion, it's not going to activate right away. It's first going to wait 5 seconds. It's going to let the upload of the file to finish and the sharing of the file to finish. And then and only then we can update the recording link in Notion such that we can listen to that recording, just like magic. Now my customer has all of the data that they need, all the way from the recording URL, the appointment details, summary and transcript, and the first name and last name of the user. We can extend that if there's a mention of a company during the call or a mention of an email during the call. We can fill those in as well. All we would need to do is go to our AI agent and explain, hey, by the way, I want you to update these fields and these fields as well. Then I would go to my Notion node, scroll to the bottom, and see where it says properties. Just like we looked at with the Google Sheet, sometimes we'll want to fill in the first name, but we'll let the model decide when it's appropriate. The last name, the transcript. The transcript we can directly pull from the end of call, webhook. The summary, and we can add a little description, a short summary and outcome of the call. The appointment details. We want to be specific, so I add a description, the time and place if available of the appointment in Eastern time zone. And if your use case includes your voice agent asking for a company name, we can just add that company feature, let the AI agent take care of it by clicking on those little stars. And that is all you need to know to create a useful, real-world workflow that actually satisfies what customers need. Again, what's important is not which nodes you know, and you now have the 5 advanced nodes that are going to take your workflows from being a simple AI agent that can do something cool to professional workflows where the AI agent is very intentionally placed that allows your customers to get what they want the way that they want it. Because now that you know the if node, that's going to allow you to take different decisions based on what information you have. You now know how to manage databases, get information from databases, and create information in databases. Then, after the AI agent, we learned about the switch node, through which you can take different actions based on what the AI agent outputted. We learned about HTTP calls to connect with literally anywhere in the internet and even download files. And finally, we learned about the wait node, which is going to come in really useful in our next few videos. So what is next and how can you actually become even more useful to clients? Well, there's one key, very tricky question that you need to figure out in order to serve clients. The question is, can you integrate with my CRM? And in the next video, we're going to hit on integrations and everything you can do with CRMs. If you want to dive deeper, come join our school community where we have 4 live sessions every single week and more than 100 community members ready to learn and help each other. And if you have a project that is bigger than where your skills currently are, you can book a call with me, we can have a private consultation, or you can submit a project and me and my team are going to work on it to deliver it for you. So click the links below, remember to subscribe so you get the next video, and I'd love to read your comments on what is the biggest challenge that you are facing when it comes to automations. My name is Alejo, and remember to never stop prompting.